Hello, this is Gail Ferris. This is my first trip to the Arctic. I am also your narrator. We have taken off from Iqaluit or Frobisher Bay. Now we are taking off from Broughton Island, and looking out the window, all I could see was endless ice. We are on our way to Pond Inlet, which is considerably north of here, up on the east coast of Baffin. Pond Inlet is on the north shore across from Lichen Island. I was wondering how we could do this. We're looking at the incredible fjords off eastern Baffin Island between Broughton Island and Clyde River on our way to Pond Inlet. On our way up, looking at the wing, we had to use the ice defrosters a great deal, as there was a lot of moisture in the air. We're coming into Clyde River, and you can see that the mountains rise straight out of the sea. This is Clyde River. We're standing at the airport at the very end. I am just simply panning the scenery. Today is July 31st. You see all those white flowers? That is cotton grass. And as you can see, we have a gravel runway. The kayaking season here is very short because of all the ice, the annual ice out there on the water. Right now we're descending into Pond Inlet. Here we have Colquitt that took us a year of preparation. Here is some of the ice on the water. Obviously it's quite open compared to the other areas we just flew over. This is a glacier on Lichen Island, which is 20 miles across the bay from Pond Inlet, over which we are flying. A little bit more over here. We're dropping down onto the low ceiling, swinging into Pond Inlet, and across the way you can see Lichen Island and also Navy Board Inlet. We're coming around on a hard angle, but this is where I will be paddling in the next few weeks once the ice goes out. We're coming in with 22 degrees of flaps, coming down on our final approach. Here we go, just about touchdown. Touchdown, and we are. There we go. Airport, Pond Inlet, just two tiny buildings, and that's all there is. This is Lichen Island, Pond Inlet, August 4th. I'm panning the scenery from Pond Inlet. As you can see, it's a clear day. You can hear the fulmars in the background on the water. Looking across at Lichen Island at those 3,000 and 4,000 foot peaks, there are orographic clouds. Here is the same view in the evening. Note the progression of orographic cloud development. This is the coastline looking east, just a small section. Here is a beached fishing boat. This is a raven. Sitting up there showing off. There he goes. There is a religious crow sitting on top of the cross on top of the mission. And he's having a good time showing off. Here's the original site of the Hudson's Bay Company. Quite amazing the date you see on the sign. I'm standing on the edge, looking over, and where you see the birds on the water, they are working over where a seal is. Those are fulmars probably, and there's a seal down there, probably harp seal. People go down and hunt these whenever they see the birds. This is a tourist boat, the first boat of the season, coming into Pond Inlet. They're now right off of Violet Island. You see a sod house. Here you can see sod, the blackness of it you can notice. This has been cut away and used to make this structure that you see here. This is the entrance facing west of the sod house. This is the interior of this sod house. Here is a seal oil lamp for cooking and lighting and also heating. You can see the wonderful fluffy, warm caribou hides that are lining the sleeping ledge. Here is a platform for hanging things, so you can dry them or store things. The caribou hide is very thick and lush. When you run your fingers through it, it's very dense. Absolutely warm as toast to sleep on, just like an inner spring mattress. Very, very warm and insulating. Here's some of your fuzzy wuzzy dogs, and boy do these guys have good coats of fur. Notice how dense that dog's fur is. There is your happy dog. Look at these guys. See, they get to lie around a lot. Later on, they'll be busy pulling sleds across over to Violet Island. That guy is shedding. There's some puppies. Whoop, fell down. There's Mommy. There's Daddy. Here is a traditionally made sled, and there are many, many of them all over town like this. You can see that everything is tied with lines. Note the use of plastic, white plastic of some type. Polyethylene plastic, about 5/8 of an inch thick.
Beats the old method where they used mud with water, mixed it up and put it on a wooden runners first, and then they would pour water over, which would freeze into ice. This is the type of runner material that will not melt off as soon as it gets above freezing, or melt off due to friction from use. Here is another example of a very nicely built sled. Note the details and the use of line to secure things instead of nails. Here are another couple of sleds. And you see a kayak. This kayak is covered with sealskin, as you can see by the seams. It is waterproofed with some type of black material. It is up on a stand because otherwise the dogs might eat it. This is the
inverted deck of the kayak in this picture.
Here, looking at the stern. We're looking at the seams on the deck.
Note that this kayak has a typical D-shaped cockpit, typical of eastern Arctic boats of Canada.
This is a local kayak, another example of the same hull design roughly, and it has not been painted with any kind of material. The skins are not treated in this particular example because the purpose is to show exactly how a genuine kayak really is made. Here we have a picture of the deck. Lashed to the deck is the paddle, which I will show later. It is a very beautiful paddle. Here is a detailed picture of the paddle, so you can see how much thought goes into the design. Note the exquisite detail of the paddle shaft. Here you have the stitching on the deck. Back over the paddle. There you go. Isn't that just beautiful? This is a change in the weather here the same day. Note the little clouds at the base of the mountain. That mountain is 6,000 feet high. There's the glacier and a cloud on the side of it. And we're having some east wind coming down Pond Inlet. Then the tide is going out.
Here is another Baffin Island kayak.
Painted gray, but note the fine lines. We're looking at the stern now. Note the broadness of beam, but the nice rounded chines. There is the bow. Note the details. Note how it sweeps in and then flares out.
Baffin Island kayaks are much wider and are multi-chined because of the short season. Very different than Greenland.
This is our last film, a couple of hours ago. Violet Island. These clouds have come in. Children are still playing on the beach, but the wind has come up and we have battened down for a big storm. Today is Friday, August 4th. This particular boat has come in. It is full of tourists. The name of it is the World Explorer. Now, over in this area is a rip. We have a tide change. It's low tide going to high now. And the waves are getting some size out there. I had expected to see a rip somewhere. I'm not surprised. I'm recording what happens when you get a good tide change here. The rip out there is sort of all backed up. You can see those waves are 4, 5, 6 feet high. They're really backed up in there. This is a panoramic view. Friday evening at 9:46 p.m. August 5th. We're looking right toward Pond Inlet right at the moment. Violet Island across the way. You can see the mountains. Here is the water and you can see the ice. It's just small bergs right now that are just sitting there melting. Out in the sound, the bergs are floating around in small clusters. This is a Surmuluk glacier, which is on Violet Island. These are the mountains on Violet Island. And you can see in the foreground the bergy bits. Now we're looking due west, and we're looking down toward the beginning of Oliver Sound, which is a fjord. We're planning to cross that tomorrow, Saturday, August 6th. Some beautiful mountains. We're panning down at the entrance of Oliver Sound, which is over the hill somewhere over there. And now off in the south is this exquisite mountain.
Carbignolic Headland.
But it's quite spectacular, as you can see. Very dramatic. And this is the rolling tundra.
On this shore, grounded out annual ice could come in and force us to dry out or to stay there. This particular area is mainly dry gravel. And what is interesting is the constant change of clouds. There are 3 systems that feed into this atmosphere, and the atmospheric pressure changes very, very rapidly and ranges wildly. At times, microclimatic situations would occur on Violet Island, and we would be in the warm, sunny sunlight at Pond Inlet. Quite different. Here's one of the many willows that grow throughout the Arctic. Note the typical catkins of willows with the little seed pods. Willows grow among rocks, and over the rocks they are forced by wind scouring to grow as espalier. Here is an ermine in his summer fur who has come out to investigate me. It showed very little fear of me, but it was a very hyperactive animal. These animals do not hibernate in the winter. I took these pictures to show you the metamorphosed granite dome with bands of feldspar in pink and black hornblende. Here's Cassiopeia tetragonia, an excellent plant for making fires. It's in the same family as blueberries, hence the shape of the flowers, a typical Vaccinium shape. Also called Arctic Heath.
This Arctic heath grows in cups like this, in little clumps. It likes to grow among rocks and cover rocks and side hill areas that are rather dry. All kinds of lichens abound in the Arctic. They are quite decorative and range in from black to brilliant yellow. Here is an example of black. This is a member of the dock family. The height of the spike of flowers is only 6 inches. There are also plants with just plain red leaves becoming green leaves. The colors of the leaves and flowers are amazing. Here is an example of a brilliant orange lichen. Just to show you how tiny these plants are, here is my boot. You can see it, amazing how tiny these plants are. Here is a flower that is probably a member of the pea family. The height is 3 inches at the most. Here is a mixture of dry moss, heath, and birch. It's a general little hillside covered with this. Here is a white and gray lichen growing in the middle of a babbling brook. There are others down below here on the same rock. There's water everywhere, and it comes along even on the top of the hills. It's amazing, there are marshes everywhere. I'm looking off of some rocks. These are vertical cliffs going right down into the water. They're only about 25 feet high. But you can see the upended strata. This is limestone and metamorphic rock. Much of the color of the stone, the apparent color, is actually dark gray lichens and black lichens growing on the rock. Here we have an underwater shot. You can see how clear the water is.
I am located on a bend about 10 miles away from Pond Inlet. We have not gotten to Oliver Sound, where the topography becomes much more exciting.
Here's the coastline as part of this major point I'm walking down. It's suited. We cannot see Violet Island 30 miles from here today.
We had one day of severe fog, but we were just following the coast on our way. This area is much too close to the magnetic North Pole, so you cannot use a compass reliably because the magnetic deviation is extreme. Daily. We are heading south. I am paddling with a group of paddlers from Paris, France. It was very nice that they have allowed me to join their group.
This is an Arctic tern. They fly from the Arctic to the Antarctic. Notice the lovely wings and the very long tail. They're such skillful flyers. We're now off the entrance of Oliver Sound. We're looking at
Carbignolic Headland.
This is close to 1,000 feet high. Gray rock. Here's one last little iceberg. This is Emerson Island. Still, it is a great day, but the weather is clearing. This is the time of evening. Here we have a quartz intrusion. Very fascinating metamorphic rock situation. There's a beautiful piece. That is a section of what you're just looking at that has broken off. You can see what a grand mixture they are. Isn't that amazing? Look at those rocks. Here is a view down through where we are going tomorrow. The northern tip of Emerson Island is the darkest island in the foreground.
We are facing south, looking at Oliver Sound and Cobbagnollett Headland. Our folding kayaks were very seaworthy.
This is our first hour of paddling today.
On our way across, we saw a rock slide cut loose from the top of the 3,000-foot cliffs, and the dust hung in the air for at least 20 minutes. We were very glad we were as far away from it as we were.
Here we are. We have made the crossing. This is 3,000 feet high.
It's called Cobbagnollett Headland.
Big.
Now we are in a wet, very boggy terrain, but in this terrain is a lush profusion of wildflowers such as this Amaria and this Epilobium. Absolutely a wonderful place for finding flowers to look at and enjoy.
This morning at our campsite, we have camped next to a river which is coming down from a lake, which is a short distance away. We're camping across from Emerson Island. Yesterday we made a crossing across Oliver Sound. You can see the details in the rocks of the quartz intrusions, various kinds of feldspar in this metamorphic stone. Here are my friend's boats. There are 5 nautical raids. Way over there is Violet Island, covered with some low clouds, which is quite frequent. Those mountains are a mile high. This is our scenery. We have just gotten on the water.
Now we will be leaving an igneous metamorphic area and coming into a sedimentary area, which will be quite different.
This is the backside of Emerson Island. It is a calm morning. Oh! Très beau.
This is the east side of Frechette Island.
We have landed on the northern tip of Frechette Island. We are having lunch.
This is an iceberg.
This is where we expect to go.
We're heading northward along this to Cape Newt-Jorgensen.
Notice the steepness. On this coast, we do not expect to be able to land. Just talus slopes for miles. We have a calm day, so we are going to do this. These are some flowers that are absolutely beautiful. This is Arctic heather. It can be burned. We are now approaching Cape Knud Jorgensen. This is Violet, far off in the background. This is Emerson.
Here's the bow of my clapper. In the center is the throw line. On the right side is my shotgun, and on the left side is my sail rig.
Here is where we have just come from, having had lunch. That is the mainland of Baffin Island in the background. To the right is Frechette, to the left is Emerson Island. Here is directly behind me, running along the cape down toward Baffin itself. Exquisite scenery. Just exquisite.
I'm able to turn completely around in my kayak cockpit because the Klepper Aries 1 is that stable to take videos.
A gorgeous waterfall off of Cape.
Knud Jorgensen.
Isn't that extraordinary? It's just beautiful. Some waterfall. Another waterfall off of the same cape.
On our return, we were forced to camp next to this waterfall due to katabatic winds that made paddling impossible. We are camping on Curry Island and the sun is very low on the horizon. The actual time is 11:29 in the evening.
This is our evening sunset. We are camping at Curry Island. This is the evening light as it strikes the rocks. This is the first Arctic sunset I have seen.
We have made it past Cape Hat from Curry Island, and now we are down within Milne Inlet, and we are looking across Ragged Island Sound at Ragged Island.
This is our campsite for today. We have wind today from the south. It's probably 20 to 25 knots. I hope we don't travel very far. We have to go against this wind if we go anywhere today.
This is looking directly across at Ragged Island, which is all sedimentary rock.
On the other side, some Inuit are camping. They are hunting. They have brought us a lovely fish, an Arctic char. We are behind Cape Hat. This is Ragged Island. For some reason, there is a lot of filamentous algae that likes to grow in this area, in the fresh water.
This is an overview starting with Milne Inlet, Ragged Island Sound. Now we're looking north at Navy Board Inlet, and we'll be looking at Violet Island in a few moments. There is Violet Island in view.
Here I am finding on top of quartz and feldspar sedimentary rocks, probably with a lot of calcium in them, that are very water soluble.
This rock is heavily eroded. I am walking on a smooth, hard surface of granite, and then superimposed I found was a layer of calcium stone. Here is some granite with pink feldspar, and right next to it is some calcium.
Here is a chrysanthemum, a member of the daisy family. Little tiny beautiful flowers. They are 5 inches high.
This is just an overview of glaciated pink granite, feldspar and gabbro in this area, with some calcium inclusions. Here's the gabbro conglomerate. I also found a series of glacial kettle holes, one over the other, which was quite exciting to find. This is the dry seed pod of a dryas, or mountain almonds. The plant is truly tiny. Now we are looking at the ultimate color contrast in lichens, where we have brilliant yellow and sharp black and pale green.
One of the many grasses. This is 8 inches high.
And for this evening, we're having an interesting combination of lenticular clouds coming in. This is northerly, northwest direction right now. Now we're swinging around to the west and to the south. High cirrus clouds.
We have made it to Cape Hat, but the wind is so strong we were forced to come in here for a landing. We just couldn't paddle against the wind that was blowing in our face.
This is looking north from the top of where I'm standing on Cape Hat.
This was an extraordinarily beautiful example of metamorphosed stone in deep green, red, and white.
Here is the seal for the morning. We're looking at narwhal swimming by Cape Hat. They go by one way, and another time they go by the opposite way. They like to go and feed in Milne Inlet, which is full of food for them.
If we had not stopped on the end of Cape Hat, we would have never had this experience. We were very lucky.
This is the scenery from behind Cape Hat, where we have spent the evening.
It looks as though foul weather is coming in again today.
That is the entrance to White Bay, I believe. See, the water is very calm.
And that is always to me an indicator of incoming storm weather.
This is on the west side of Curry Island. Sun is striking this It looks like it's a mica schist. Across the way, behind Cape Hat, on the east side of Cape Hat, is this assemblage of sedimentary rock, which you can see has enormous talus slopes. Here is the backside of Curry Island. We're looking across at Cape Knud-Jorgensen. Very high, 3,000 feet. This is on White Bay. We're looking down White Bay now. Have quite a contrast in topography here. This is one of those fascinating foggy mornings. Light storm is in the air. Light rain. And look at that. Nice and high. Something just under 3,000 feet there. Back to the clouds that are coming down the bay. And the fog. This is one of those days that makes a man out of you or a mouse out of you. I'd rather be a mouse. We're coming back south from Cape Knud-Jorgensen. Over there, that little dot, little white dot is an iceberg in front of Frechette Island, which we're heading for. And it's another waterfall. Here we have a classic example of water being blown flat. This we got off a while ago, and it was 25 knots and more. It was so powerful that it was all I could do to get the boat to move at all. Very severe, nasty wind.
We had experienced katabatic winds, which happen in White Bay.
This is Frechette Island. This is the passage around behind it.
After lunch, I separated from my friends and paddled alone so that I could observe things in greater detail.
This is a seagull nesting site
On the west side
of Frechette Island. It's the first time we've come across one that there are so many together in one place. This is still the passage behind Frechette Island. Absolutely beautiful.
the rocks you see in the distance, I had just enough time to drag my boat through before the tide dropped so low I would have had to have unloaded my boat and carried it.
Quiet day, but probably we'll have a storm tomorrow. Here is the bow of my boat.
I'm back near our campsite near Cobignolic Headland, the peninsula of Baffin Island. It was amazing to see the colors in these rocks. They range from very sharp black and white to green to pink. Really beautiful metamorphosed stone. I had such a pleasure looking at this beautiful rock. One of the pleasures of going to Pond Inlet was to be able to see such exquisite flowers and beautiful geology in the area, and also the numerous animals. I never saw anything like this, as grand as this, anywhere else I traveled, even in Greenland. It was a thrill to see the narwhal surface and go by.
Only in the Arctic do you get these clouds. They just come by like that, right there. See that? And then here we are. I'm standing, let's say, 10 feet above the water level. And look at this. Isn't this the funniest thing you ever saw? Of course, what we're looking at is the backside of something that is 3,000 feet high, but still, those clouds aren't that far up. Here is the morning sun trying to break through. Actually, it's been up for quite a few hours. These are fox prints. I saw this fox last night, and he was having a wonderful time running all over the beach looking at my boat, scampering around with curiosity. This is the sun starting to set. Saturday, August 19th, 1989 at Pond Inlet. I'm looking over the low western end of the southwest shore of Violet Island. Note the multiplicity of cloud types you can see because of the clarity of the atmosphere.
I am in my kayak gathering these intense colors with my camera just hovering over the water.
Oppositely is the moon, very dim, but it's probably a full moon. Here's a pod of seal. They're playing on the surface of the water. Here is a telephoto shot of a third ship coming into Pond Inlet for this year that we have seen. It's the third ship to come in. Here's a shot of Mount Rodier. I've just arrived. Here we have the sunset with some combination. Here's an iceberg that has moved up into the bay off of Pond Inlet. The sun has just disappeared right there, and in front of that, the ship is an iceberg lined right up to crash into it. But the ship is bringing in all kinds of important equipment for Pond Inlet for the following year. Trucks, cars, houses, everything. An incredible array of things. Last of the sun.
You won't believe what's out there. There's a boat pushing an iceberg. There are two icebergs out there, one in front of the other. The boat is pushing that iceberg away from the large ship you see in the foreground. Otherwise, they would have collided with the ship which is anchored in the bay, unloading precious cargo. That cargo ship came in with 200 tons of materials. Here's the motor of the little boat over there. It's like a tugboat, pushing that iceberg out of the way. It's very daring to do that because icebergs have a way of suddenly rolling over, and they can crush a ship very easily. You see the icebergs are separating. They're being separated by the little boat over there. It's acting like a tugboat. Well, he's moved it enough. Now, I'm going to go back and attend to other things. Oh, it's going to go for another run. Try to push that so it doesn't spin around and hit the bow of the cargo ship. Now he's coming back around into the harbor to help with unloading at the beach.
This is what we're doing for the morning. These guys are unloading here at the beach. have a big sort of a payloader. See the guys standing on the forks? Backing off so they're gonna step off on dry land without having to jump into the water. There's a load of barrels with something in them. Never know. Here's some local fun. These guys are having a good time.
Now I am taking off from Pond Inlet and flying down the east coast of Baffin. There's a wonderful view of a glacier here and there, and of the mountains. The east coast of Baffin is very similar to the west coast of Greenland, with its typical glaciers and mountains. The west coast of Baffin is very flat, completely different. Some of these vertical cliff faces are home to birds such as peregrine falcon. Because of the ocean currents that go up the coast of West Greenland, this area is much cooler. We are in the Clyde River area. Note the ice in late August still on this area of Davis Straits. The West Greenland current swings up the coast of West Greenland and then back down the coast of eastern Baffin Island. Now we are in the Broughton Island area. This extremely short season for paddling on the water in a kayak forces the Baffin Islanders to make what's called an Eastern Arctic kayak, which has a large D-shaped cockpit. It's a very wide boat, multi-chined rounded hull, and you can fit everything inside of the boat or onto the deck, because it's not possible to try to tow something you have caught, such as a bunch of seals, behind you through all of this ice. And so it makes kayaking in this area entirely different than that on the coast of West Greenland. We're gradually coming into the more southerly part of Baffin Island. We're on our way into Pangerton, and these mountains appear to me to be basaltic stone with long scree slopes. Not a good place to kayak. It's just amazing. I didn't have any idea as to the relative altitude until I could look out the window and see these low clouds in the valleys, and then look up and see our relationship to those low clouds as we were coming down through. And it was a very exciting moment in an airplane when I began to feel how small I truly was, and glad the weather was calm. Here's another dense cloud layer that we are flying among. We are down at the Arctic Circle in Pangerton, and we are flying along the cliffs right along the beach. And some of these mountains are even as much as 4,000 feet high. But what is very interesting is down below there's open water. There isn't any ice. And it's been a long time since I've seen water with no ice on it. Thank you very much. This is takeoff at Pangerton, and this was my last point in the Canadian Arctic. Thank you.